Increased capacity per DIMM, higher memory bandwidth, higher frequency at lower voltage are some of the new aspects you get on the new DDR5. Now Intel has launched its 12th gen core processors and the Z690 motherboards. We're finally able to experience the long-awaited DDR5 memory for the first time. Now, unlike DDR4, we can see high-frequency DDR5 memory modules like DDR5 56000, 6000 or more, while most of the high-frequency DDR5 modules that comes with a heat spreader are the ones that can be overclocked beyond its rated speed because of the unlocked voltage for VDD and VDDQ. That doesn't mean you cannot overclock the less appealing looking generic DDR5 memory modules. So in this video, we will share with you our experience on overclocking the KLEVV DDR5 U-DIMM, a generic looking DDR5 memory modules with its VDD and VDDQ lock at the standard 1.435 volt. So the plain looking KLEVV DDR5 U-DIMM we have here comes with a rather simple package, but if we look at the speed, it's technically just as what is rated based on the JDEC spec, which is DDR5 4800 MHz with timings of CL40-40-40. You can easily get it working on any Z690 board without any further adjustment, just plug and play. Unlike other fancier looking DDR5 memory kits, it doesn't have an XMP profile. So for most of the case, you are technically stuck with DDR5 4800 if you don't plan to go any further on the tweaking part. Though there are, however, some motherboard manufacturers that include custom optimized profile in their BIOS for selected models, of course. So this generic DDR5 memory modules that doesn't come with XMP profile can also be overclocked or run at a much higher frequency and gain extra performance when needed. And for our test, we will be using this motherboard right here, the ASUS ROG Maximus Z690 Apex, to put the KLEVV DDR5 U-DIMM to the test. Compared to some of the basic Z690 chipset motherboard out there, one interesting option available here is that ASUS has a built-in profile known as the ASUS Enhanced Memory Profile, or AEMP for short, that allows memory like the KLEVV DDR5 U-DIMM, the generic ones that doesn't have an XMP profile, to run at DDR5 6000 CL38-38-38. That's the profile they have built in. So it works just like the usual XMP profile we'll find on the more expensive memory modules. And you can see from the screenshot right here, yes, that's the AEMP options that allows you to choose the built-in memory profile. So yeah, if you're using any kind of generic kits like this and you're using selected ASUS ROG boards, this is one of the features you get to enjoy. And with the AEMP now enabled, we get to have some gain on the memory frequencies and of course slightly tighter timing. In short, we gain some free performance boost on the KLEVV DDR5 U-DIMM. So let's get on how we can squeeze a little bit more performance out of it. For some motherboards that's basically on the enthusiast grade side, which are meant for overclocking, you have these built-in memory profiles. So you can try to make use of those profiles for your memory kits as long as it fits the memory chips you're using. So unlike the AEMP we have shown just now, all these profiles right here are actually the profiles that's optimized by ASUS engineers. So each and every of the profiles are made for a specific memory kits. Some memory kits will come with Micron dies, Hynix dies, or even Samsung dies. So they have all of these profiles that will make it work at higher speed and of course optimized timings. So taking a closer look at the KLEVV DDR5 U-DIMM, we have here It's using the memory chips from Hynix, which can be easily identified with the printing on the memory chips on the module itself. As of now, SK Hynix memory chips has been a popular choice among enthusiasts in the overclocking community, mainly because of its excellent overclocking capabilities. And for that, we will be selecting the SK Hynix profiles in the BIOS settings. And after selecting the profile, you can save the settings and restart your system to give it a test. You can run memory stability tests using programs like HCI MEMTest Pro, Carhu RAM Test, or even Testman 5 to see if your settings are stable enough to handle your daily tasks. If the test failed, well, you can just go back into the BIOS and do some adjustments to perhaps timings or voltage that are related to the memory. And since all these optimized profiles are dealing with tighter timings compared to maybe those simple adjustments like the primary timings, one major challenge you will face when dealing with non-XMP kits like this KLEVV DDR5 U-DIMM here is that the VDDQ and VDD voltage limited to the standard 1.435 volt max. Yes, that's the maximum voltage you can set if the motherboard manufacturer doesn't have any bypass method to give higher voltage to these two values. So if you need more voltage, you will need a motherboard that allows you to bypass this limit, which is something that the ASUS ROG Maximus Z690 Apex right here can do. So with tighter timings, you will need more voltage. And increasing the voltage also means that you get higher load temperature on the memory kit during stress tests. And as the KLEVV DDR5 U-DIMM doesn't come with that big fancy heat spreader of its own, you will have to find sweet spot settings so it doesn't get too warm. And in our case, we settled down with DDR5 6000 CL30, which is the sweet spot for us at the moment. And since each of the silicon will behave differently, the result you'll be getting might be vary from ours. So if you have a good kit and of course a CPU with a nice IMC, you'll be able to get an even better results than what we have achieved right here. Okay, now to the verdict. What do we think of the KLEVV DDR5 U-DIMM memory kit that doesn't look as fancy as the XMP kits with fancy RGBs and heatsinks? Well, despite its generic appearance, the KLEVV DDR5 U-DIMM can actually clock pretty well thanks to the SK Hynix memory chips. The only thing to take note about the KLEVV DDR5 U-DIMM is probably the thermals, as it doesn't come with any heat spreader due to its generic looking design. If you plan to go very high on the frequencies and with tight timings, custom cooling solutions is required to those who plan to take it to an extreme length. But for normal users or perhaps some enthusiasts who just want to get some extra performance out of it without spending an extra buck, yes, this is probably one of the nicer choice out there at the moment. All in all, I'll say it's a fine memory kit to have as long as you manage to keep the temperatures under control. If you don't plan to go with a tight timing that requires a very high voltage, you can still easily get it to run at DDR5 6000s just like we do right here. With default timings, of course, you will be able to go with lower voltage value like perhaps 1.3. And yes, that's pretty much our experience with the KLEVV DDR5 U-DIMM. The KLEVV DDR5 U-DIMM is officially priced as 649 ringgit for a single stick of 16 gig module. And the price for dual stick module like the one we have right here is at 1,279 ringgit. Yeah, so that's pretty much it with our experience sharing with the KLEVV DDR5 U-DIMM. If you find this video useful, do give us a thumbs up, and of course, do let us know what's your thought on DDR5 memory modules down in the comment below. And until next time, stay safe, and I will see you guys in the next video.